Ladies and gentlemen, now for many Marvel gamers out there, this week has been an awfully harrowing reminder that we're living under the boots of the Disney and the Marvel executives, and if your game isn't making mad stacks of cash and milking those whales to oblivion, it's going to get terminated, it's going to get shut down, the plug is going to get pulled, and I have had, my experience as a gamer, many games terminated, man. Going back years, one of the first games I ever played was Virtual Magic Kingdom, also known as VMK. It was like the lamest game, but I loved it, man, when I was like 10, 11, but it just got binned off one day because it was making absolutely no money, and I was so sad. I cried like the whole evening, man. I was really upset about this, but it's been a very upsetting week from players of Marvel Battle Lines. Now, if you didn't know too much about Marvel Battle Lines, it was essentially a free-to-play card game on iOS and Android, so a free-to-play mobile game. Marvel love those, and some of them, they work really well, but Marvel Battle Lines, I was really looking forward to it in theory, because I was a big Hearthstone player. Like, I love Hearthstone so much, and I kind of wanted it to be like a Marvel version of Hearthstone that was even better. So that was kind of my expectation for the game, but the game, it just felt like, personally, and again, this is my opinion, I played the game in its first beta for about half an hour, and I just couldn't really get into the art style, kind of the combat with the cards and the whole system. It really wasn't for me. There wasn't something really enticing kind of grabbing me into the game, but again, that's just my personal opinion. There are a lot of players, especially in existing Marvel gaming communities, that really liked this game and really found the gameplay quite fun. However, I just wasn't really one of them, but again, that's somewhat off the point. But overall, man, the game just couldn't sustain kind of a big player base, and also financially was one of the biggest flops that I've ever seen on a Marvel free-to-play game. Like, looking at the App Store charts, it's just crazy, man, and we're going to have a bit of a look at those. But they announced just a couple of days ago that they're going to be shutting down Marvel Battle Lines, and there are people that play this game that have spent hundreds, thousands. Granted, it's not many people at all, but there are a few individuals out there, especially on YouTube as well, that have done like massive pack openings. I know, like, around the release of Avengers Endgame, they had all sorts of bundles coming out, so it's just crazy, man. It's so crazy, especially when we're kind of moving into this territory now with free-to-play and mobile games, where people are literally dropping like tens of thousands on games every single month, and that's not really the case in Marvel Battle Lines in comparison to a game like Marvel Contest of Champions. But it's just something, everybody should take as a reminder. Like, every single game out there is finite, and I think games like Marvel Contest of Champions and Marvel Future Fight, as we're going to talk about later in this video, have like a lot of longevity, a lot of duration left in them. But just keep in mind, man, these virtual goods that you purchase, it's just like burning money in an arcade. You've always got to like think of it like that, because one day like games are going to get shut down, and Marvel Battle Lines could never really get its feet off the ground, so to speak, and make some good money, because we're going to have a quick look at like the iOS chart rankings for Marvel Battle Lines, Future Fight, and also Contest of Champions, because obviously one of the knee-jerk reactions to this game shutting down is like, are the other Marvel games safe? Are all games getting shut down? And the answer to that is no, because they're still making a truckload of money. So we're going to be having a look at some data from App Annie, and this is my favorite website to kind of get reliable data on kind of grossing ranks and download ranks when it comes to various games. So grossing ranks are essentially like the bottom line. That's how much money like the game is making and where they're ranking in comparison to other games, and how they're doing like in comparison to the rest of the market. So Marvel Battle Lines this month, in terms of if we just have a look at kind of like the average day, US strategy games is 600, US card games is 330, and US games, it doesn't even have a ranking, so it means it doesn't appear in the top 1,400 grossing games for US games. And generally, if your game that you're playing, just as a bit of a pro tip and heads up, if your game is outside of the top 300 US games, your game might be in trouble, especially if it's a really big ranking game. So it's always something to keep a little bit of an eye on, because if it's outside of that, man, the amount of money it's making is probably not enough to staff a team that you would like to be probably making that game, I would assume. But hey, there are some exceptions to that. But if we have a look at Marvel Future Fight, for example, a game that's doing tremendously well, still pushing all sorts of updates. US games, if we have a look on the just average day here, I guess that's slightly better than average day, but if we have a look at the average day, like US games overall, Marvel Future Fight is generally like 150 to 200 in terms of the average US games ranking, and US action games about 33 there, and US role-playing games falls into 52 there. So, you know, a relatively good ranking for Marvel Future Fight overall, because again, like, people spend a ridiculous amount on mobile games, but Marvel Contest of Champions is still the big daddy when it comes to bringing in those bucks, lads. Marvel Contest of Champions, it really does surprise me that this game still hasn't really faltered, especially considering, like, these are the last like 30 days of data, and the last 30 days have been so dry for making revenue, because like Elsa Bloodstone, Man-Thing, and like Vision Arcus weren't very hyped champions at all. They were like, you know, all fairly like, oh, you know, nobody really cares about that in comparison to some of the beyond god tier champions that we've seen. But still, even with like a really like unexciting month in terms of spending and just like a few whale milking offers coming up here and there, you can see like most of the time they're kind of knocking around like that mid-20s region. I would say about 25 is probably their average. But the thing is as well, and you can have a look at this next month, you can have a look at it on July 4th or Christmas, like when Marvel Contest of Champions release their big offers, they just hit that #1 spot every single time, man. Cyber Monday, they just dominate it. I think it was last Cyber Monday, they almost passed like 4 million revenue in a single day. Just absolutely crazy stuff. But kind of rumors do speculate that Kabam is still making about 30 to 50 million off Marvel Contest of Champions every single month. So if you are an MCOC player, like, you have nothing to worry about, man. They are making a ridiculous amount of money, and especially with the kind of release of Realm of Champions next year, I see a lot of people speculating whether or not that's going to impact Marvel Contest of Champions. And the thing is, like, they're making so much money with MCOC that they are not slowing down on this game at all. Like, Kabam being Kabam and being a business, you know, they've got a giant pile of money. What does a business want? They want 2 giant piles of money. So I'm very interested to see how Realm of Champions is going to impact the mobile gaming market, and whether or not it's going to match Marvel Contest of Champions, because if it matches Marvel Contest of Champions, that's going to be like crazy in terms of the amount of money that they're going to be making. But if it is a game that can surpass Marvel Contest of Champions, we might be looking at some crazy figures coming in from that game. Like, it just might have some insane potential, but also like, gameplay-wise, very little is known about Realm of Champions yet, so it's really tough to speculate whether or not it is going to become the dominant Marvel free-to-play game for the mobile market. But yeah, as Marvel Contest of Champions players, like, looking at these ranks, especially in comparison to, like, Future Fight as well, hopefully gives you a bit of a perspective of, like, Kabam. They're very good at milking whales, man. They know how to extract those large sums of cash for those big old blubbery boys. So yeah, we don't need to worry about our game being shut down and terminated for a while. But it is the pros and cons, man, because you will look at like an offer like this today, for example, that just came up, the Tier 5 Catalyst Fragment Pack. It is essentially like $50, mate, for a quarter of a single Tier 5 Basic and half of a Tier 2 Alpha. And there's a limit of 4 on this. So you pay $200 to Kabam, you get 1 Tier 5 Basic and 2 Tier 2 Alpha, and also like 800,000 gold, which when you're spending like $200, isn't like the biggest stack of gold, but I assume like it's a bonus that the whales are certainly after there, just something to sweeten up that deal a little bit further. But yeah, you know, some days I love Kabam, some days I hate Kabam. I guess the days where I love them, you know, they're maybe a little bit thin recently, but at the end of the day, mate, like, it's nice to have that level of security in the game for now, just because I know they're making so much money, and you can just see it in terms of all the information that's presented. And like next month, I imagine with like the release of like Doom and Mr. Fantastic and Cyber Monday, like this chart's just going to be looking so stupid. So yeah, I don't think we have too much to worry about playing Marvel Contest of Champions. So yeah, a massive rip to all of our friends playing Marvel Battle Lines, man, because nobody likes seeing their game shut down, and I know the feeling. It's just so terrible when you like read that a game that you really like and you play every single day, you're not even going to be able to access that game anymore. It sucks, man. It really does suck. I've had games like VMK, Toontown, WildStar, and all sorts shut down, but especially as well, I think a few of you may remember that we did a very brief video series on a game called Gigantic X, and this was like a sci-fi alien shooter that released earlier this year, and it was live from the start of August to the 19th of September. So this game, it didn't even last 2 months, man, before the plug got pulled on it. And it was such a great game. It was, so much fun to play. But they released the game and they had absolutely no idea what they were doing with the monetization. They had no bundles. They hadn't kind of figured out what they were going to do to kind of like entice players to spend. And as a result of that, the plug got pulled almost immediately. And I was devastated, man, because I actually played this game every single day. I was one of like the first 10 players as well to hit max level in it, and it was a really friendly free-to-play game, because you could get like all of the tier 5, all of the legendary stuff, all of the mods, just by playing the game and grinding out with skill, and it was just the best. But the game, it didn't advertise, it had no monetization, and I was just gutted. And the thing is as well, when it came to shutting down the game, we didn't get like the 2 and a bit months that Marvel Battle Lines got. We got 6 days, man. Like, it was announced on the 19th of September and it shut down on the 25th of September. So as soon as I read that, I was just like, oh man, screw this game. I had like one little last session playing it. I was kind of debating like making a video on the whole thing, but I think like now is just the time to talk about it. I was like, you know, I just don't really know what to say. I was just gutted at the time, mate. But it's one of those things that there is a balance when it comes to free-to-play mobile games, a line that has to be drawn. And I know some people hate that Kabam put out these ridiculous offers, but there are people in this world, man, that have far too much money. They've just like invested on all these businesses, they got a load of properties, and they're just sitting there while massive stacks of cash just come to them, and you know, they just don't know what to do with it. So I think free-to-play gaming, especially on mobile, is all about finding a right balance. And I still think Kabam, Marvel Contest of Champions, you know, especially at the top, has a very heavy pay-to-win element to it. When it comes to like prestige and like Alliance War stuff, like 6-star Sig 200 characters are just so ridiculous. But I'd rather have that and also a lot of enjoyable stuff that you can do as a free-to-play player than the game just getting shut down. So, you know, you're always dancing with the devil, man, playing free-to-play games, but, you know what kind of fire you are playing with, lads. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed today's video talking about games getting shut down and Kabam milking whales. And if you did, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. But aside from that, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.